precisely 1:15. This is the news on Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News is edited by Romesh Piris and read by Sabrina Zawahir. First, the headlines. Sri Lankans to usher in the Sinhala and Tamil New Year tomorrow. The police to minimize accidents and the spread of COVID-19. The number of COVID-19 cases confirmed in the country on the rise. Additional 3,000 buses to operate following the New Year holidays. The Vesak National Festival to be held in the Jaffna Peninsula this year. The Environment Minister says Sri Lanka is the only country in the world that uses lunch sheets. And in world news, the WHO says measures still needed despite vaccinations. In sports news, Punjab Kings beat Rajasthan Royals in their thriller despite Sanju Samson's stun. Now the local news in detail. Sri Lankans will usher in the Sinhala and Tamil New Year tomorrow. A significant national festival, it signifies the dawn of a new beginning with age-old traditional customs and rituals, sweetmeats, fun and games and gifts for near and dear ones, adding to the festive mood. Religious observances are also an integral part of this annual national event, especially during the Punya Kalaya or Nonagathaya, when all businesses and work-related activities come to a halt. The new year will dawn at 2:33 tomorrow morning. The inauspicious period is from 8:09 p.m. today to 8:57 a.m. tomorrow. The number of COVID-19 cases confirmed in the country has risen to 95,394 following the detection of 263 patients yesterday. Among yesterday's cases, 203 were identified as contacts of the Minuwangoda-Paliyagoda COVID-19 cluster. 22 cases were also identified from prisons across the country. Accordingly, the Minuwangoda-Paliyagoda COVID-19 cluster has increased to 90,242. The epidemiology unit of the Ministry of Health said 3,021 persons are currently receiving treatment for coronavirus at several facilities across the country. Yesterday, 144 persons who recovered from COVID-19 were discharged from hospitals, raising the number of recoveries in the country to 91,775. The State Minister of Transport, Dilum Amunagama, says that an additional 3,000 buses will be operated from the 15th of this month to enable people to return to work in the city without any hindrance following the New Year holidays. He said that a regular and planned bus service was provided to people travelling from the city to the villages for the New Year, and in the same manner, commuters travelling from the villages to the city after the New Year too will be provided with a comfortable and safe journey. The minister made this statement while participating in an inspection tour of the Kandy railway station. The commander of the Army General Shavendra Silva says if the spread of COVID-19 can be managed in a stringent manner during the Sinhala and Tamil New Year period, Vesak celebrations could be held in a better state than last year. Speaking to a media in Kandy, the Army commander said the Vesak National Festival will be held in the Jaffna Peninsula this year. He added festivities will get underway in other areas according to how Buddhists generally celebrate the festival. The Army commander said that the consequences of how the New Year period was spent will be observed within the first week of May. This news is brought to you by Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
This How Do the People's Bank credit cards are giving you discounts of up to 60%.
Continuing local news, the Environment Minister Mahinda Amaravira says the country should be thankful for the effort rendered by Roshan Abesundara, a war hero of the Air Force, who swam across the Park Straits giving the message to the country not to release polythene and plastic into the ocean. Minister Amaravira said Sri Lanka is the only country in the world that uses lunch sheets, and undiscovered 10 million lunch sheets are used daily in the country. The minister stated in the future stricter rules will be implemented to reduce the use of plastic bags and lunch sheets. He noted that the people of our country are not yet aware of the environmental damage caused by plastic pollution. The minister expressed these views while participating in a sapling distribution ceremony held in the Angunakoda Palace area to be distributed for the auspicious sapling program to be implemented by the Ministry of Environment on April 16th. Sri Lanka Customs has re-exported 105 MT of imported crude coconut oil that contained poisonous substances to Malaysia. The legal director and spokesperson of Sri Lanka Customs, Sudat Silva, said 6 containers of crude coconut oil were re-exported via the Malaysia-bound vessel Barbara. He said the vessel left the Colombo harbour at around 7:50 p.m. Sudat Silva said the Sri Lanka Standards Institution and other health units refused to grant approval to release the said stock to the market. The importation of substandard coconut oil has been a hotly debated topic in recent weeks, with opposition politicians alleging imported coconut oil contained cancerous agent aflatoxin. 4 youths who had climbed halfway out through the windows of a car travelling on the Southern Expressway have been taken into custody. According to police spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohana, the arrest has been made by the Expressway Traffic Police Division this morning. The arrestees, aged between 18 to 20 years, were identified as residents of Akurana area. They are expected to be produced before Panadura Magistrates Court later today. The police spokesperson said the youths in question were taken into custody over unlawful assembly and for violating provisions of the Motor Traffic Act. Meanwhile, the driver of the vehicle, who was taken into custody on Monday, was produced before Panadura Magistrates Court and remanded until the 22nd of April. With that, we conclude the local news. The main news story follows.
This hour the People's Bank credit cards are giving you discounts of up to 60%. Hurry, get your People's credit card at your nearest People's Bank branch today. Special offers only till April 30th.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The police media spokesman DIG Ajit Rohana stated the police are taking every possible action to prevent the public being victims of COVID-19 pandemic or traffic accidents by the end of the upcoming festive season. Accordingly, he said special plans are in effect to monitor and prevent the spread of COVID-19 through public gatherings during the festive season. The police media spokesman mentioned that it is compulsory for the organizers of the New Year festivals to seek permission from the health authorities and also from the police before the event. He requested the public to wear face masks whenever they go out to public places and use public transport. The DIG further commented that the police are conducting 24-hour traffic operations to net drunken and speeding drivers. That was our main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
In Watchlight, Sri Lanka Police urged the public to be cautious when purchasing goods online from individuals, especially through advertisements placed on the internet. The police said it had been found that some individuals were selling stolen valuable goods such as mobile phones, jewelry, perfumes, appliances and computers by placing advertisements on Facebook and on the internet at very low prices. Furthermore, the EMI numbers of all the stolen mobile phones are now published on the websites, that's www.ineed.police.lk, maintained by the police. That came to you in Watchlight. A bulletin of world news follows.
World News, brought to you by courtesy of
the best discount in this out of the season. People's Leasing Polybasi. Enjoy an interest rebate of 25% from People's Leasing for all the leasing facilities during this out of the season. Call 011-206-300 for more details. Conditions apply.
People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
The headlines of the world news. The WHO says measures still needed despite vaccinations. Japan approves releasing wastewater into ocean. England buzzing after first night out in 97 days. Now the world news in detail. The World Health Organization has called for continued measures to prevent coronavirus infections as global cases rise despite progress in vaccine rollout. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus told a news conference that 780 million vaccine doses have been administered globally. He said global cases dropped for 6 straight weeks in January and February, but they have now risen again for 7 consecutive weeks. He noted that deaths have also increased for 4 weeks. He stressed the need to continue social distancing, wearing face masks, washing hands, and other antivirus measures. Japan has approved a plan to release more than 1 million tons of contaminated water from the destroyed Fukushima nuclear plant into the sea. The water will be treated and diluted so radiation levels are below those set for drinking water. But some locals, those in the fishing industry as well as China and South Korea, have opposed the plan. Tokyo says work to release water used to cool nuclear fuel will begin in about 2 years. The final approval comes after years of debate and is expected to take decades to complete. Outdoor drinking and dining resumed for the first time since England's lockdown began on 5th January, although 4 million of people who lived under Tier 4 restrictions in December. The wait had been even longer. Shops, hairdressers, gyms and zoos were among the other businesses reopening in England, while Northern Ireland's stay-at-home order was lifted and some rules were eased in Scotland and Wales. Despite flurries of snow in parts of the country, people flocked to pubs and restaurants to celebrate the return of some of their freedoms. With that, we conclude the world news, and prior to concluding, the headlines of the world news once again. The WHO says measures still needed despite vaccinations. Japan approves releasing wastewater into ocean. England buzzing after first night out in 97 days. With that, we conclude the world news. Next up is the development news.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of
The best discount in this Urdu season, People's Leasing Polybasi. Enjoy an interest rebate of 25% from People's Leasing for all the leasing facilities during this Urdu season. Call 011-206-300 for more details. Conditions apply.
People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
In development news, the Special Economic Centres program has been inaugurated to ensure direct marketing of the agricultural products of the farmers, as well as to implement the price mechanism more effectively through completion, while 15 such economic centres are being implemented island-wide. Accordingly, the construction process of Batticaloa and Vaunia Special Economic Zones have been completed, and the construction work of the Phase 1 of the Special Economic Centres in Jaffna has been completed by now. The Cabinet of Ministers approved the proposal submitted by the Minister of Agriculture for the establishment of a management trust for the administration of the respective special economic centres, as well as allocating business premises utilising formal methodologies. That ends development news. Next up is the sports news. Taking a look at the sports news, it's cricket. Sanju Samson struck the first century of the new Indian Premier League season, but it was not enough for Rajasthan Royals to beat Punjab Kings. Samson needed 5 from the final ball, bowled by Ashdeep Singh, to complete the Royals' chase of 222 in Mumbai. But Samson was caught at deep extra cover to fall for 119 and give Punjab victory by 4 runs. The Kings were lifted to their 221 for 6 by 91 from KL Rahul, Deepak Huda's 64 and 40 by Chris Gale. That ends sports news. The business news follows.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka suspended business activities of Swarna Mahal Financial Services PLC with effect from 5 p.m. on the 12th of April 2021. While issuing a statement, the CBSL said having considered the continual deteriorating financial conditions and non-availability of a viable revival plan, the Monetary Board decided to suspend the businesses of SFSP and its parent company ETI Finance Limited with effect from July 13, 2020 until January 12, 2021. The statement from the CBSL further stated during the suspended period the company had failed to bring in an acceptable revival plan through a capital infusion and continued to deteriorate further. That ends Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Savings account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
In economic news, the Treasury Secretary S.R. Atigala says Sri Lanka is in talks with oil supplying countries to extend payments terms for up to 1 year. A delegation made up to Treasury and Central Bank officials are now in the Middle East. The State Minister for Money and Capital Markets, Nivad Cabral, met senior government officials at Oman over the weekend. Under the policy of Sri Lanka's current administration, retail oil prices are fixed. That ends economic news.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
Finally, it's a look at the weather report. The Met Department forecasts showers or thunder showers at several places over most parts of the island in the evening or night. Moreover, fairly heavy falls above 75 millimeters can be expected at some places in the Sabaragamua, central, western and northwestern provinces and in Galle and Mathura districts. The Met Department states that on the apparent northward relative motion of the sun, it is going to be directly over the latitudes of Sri Lanka during 5th to the 14th of April this year. The nearest areas of Sri Lanka over which the sun is overhead today are Tikali, Mallavi and Vannivilankulam, Iddakadu and Adankulam at about 12:10 noon. That was the weather report.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
Prior to concluding this bulletin of news, the headlines once again. Sri Lankans to usher in the Sinhala and Tamil New Year tomorrow. The police to minimize accidents and the spread of COVID-19. The number of COVID-19 cases confirmed in the country on the rise. Additional 3,000 buses to operate following the New Year holidays. The Vesak National Festival to be held in the Jaffna Peninsula this year. The Environment Minister says Sri Lanka is the only country in the world that uses lunch sheets. With that, we conclude the news, and over to my friend and certainly yours as well, who's all geared up to keep you entertained with a wonderful collection of music. Over to you, Victor.